Hello, welcome to the Corona Yoga Challenge. Today is day 122 and today we are going to be doing tree pose. So it is page 9 of your home practice journal. You've got the adaptions on one side, variations on the other side. We're going to go through those together so that we can look at different ways that you can get more support from the pose, so that you can break down little bits of it so that you can really focus in on them. So if you start by bringing yourself to standing, and you're going to bring yourself to something where you've got some support. So if we take a hand onto support that's high, we can end up with tension through the shoulders, so we're going to need to release that down. I would suggest trying to find something that's more towards a kind of relaxed movement down through the shoulder, elbow to hand, so that the hand is lower than the elbow. When you are using your support, try to soften the shoulder down on the side that's with the support. And then from here, I could have my shoulder nice and soft, but I could be holding on really tightly to the chair. Now that's going to do a variety of good things to my muscles, but when we're doing yoga practice, see if you can really soften into the hand so it becomes really, really passive and relaxed. So it's really, really easy through the upper body. The first thing that we're going to do as a modification is, from here, if I was standing side on, would be just to float the knee forwards. So as the knee floats forwards, the pelvis remains even. So we're not jiggling up and down through the pelvis, it's just an easy sliding forwards where the heel lifts. That's what allows the knee to move forwards freely. So this could be the legs of your tree pose. And it could be that this is absolutely enough. Even if you do much more than this, it's still really worthwhile coming through this and really feeling it out, because when we're here, we can spread and widen into the balls of the feet, and we can gently extend out through the toes, so we get a feeling of the connection between the feet and the floor, which is so, so important. And then through the foot that's on the floor, we can slide down through the outer edge and down into the heel at the same time as that awareness through the ball of the foot. The next adaptation that you can do is from here, you can let your knee come up. So you let your knee rest into your hand, you soften through the shoulders, soften through the knee, so the leg can get a little bit heavy into your hand. And of course the hand on the side of the support will be really soft, and it might be that you don't use a support or that you do. The next thing from here is to start the movement of taking the knee out. So one of the fundamental movements of the tree pose is this opening of the hip, and how we do that. So I can kind of pull it out and yeah, great, my knees come out to the side, but everything else has gone to pot. So try and think of lengthening up through the supporting leg, so then floating the knee out to where it wants to come to, rather than I can come to here. So we're trying not to brace against the body, we're trying to flow with the movement. So that first bit is just to let the knee come out to here, and it might be that this is your variation of tree pose. One of the things that I always avoid is taking the foot into the knee. So tree pose traditionally is the ankle coming up to the top of the groin, and this all kind of coming together. When this doesn't happen, the foot ends up slipping often, or maybe somebody can get their foot here but it just comes to here and they think, oh, this feels good, I'm almost there, I'm just this much away. I wouldn't advise this, because what's happening is you are taking your foot very close to or over the knee joint, you're pressing into the knee joint with this foot. That's just not great call. It's just, there's nothing good about it. The knee joint is not going to enjoy that. It's just not great. So either you can take your heel right up to the top as you would traditionally, or the other one that I think is quite good is an in between. So when we've come away from the ankle and we want to come a little bit further, is to take the ball of the foot into the calf. So it's not the knee, we're keeping it lower than that. And as we do that, when we put the heel into it, again, it can become a little bit heavy, a little bit like a push, which we don't want. So when we come into the balls of the foot, the connection between the legs is light, it's soft, it's gentle, but that requires a lot more strength through the legs than if we do this. So we're trying to use the muscles to hold us up, not the joints. So this is me holding up held up by my joints. So I'm just heavy, lifeless, boom, down. When I come into the ball of the foot, I get that feeling of a little bit more life through the foot on the floor. I feel slightly more wobbly, but that's actually a good thing. That's more aliveness. And there's more aliveness through the legs and through the pelvis, so I'm better protected. So these are some of the different options that you can do. Let me check which other ones I've suggested. Well, yes, you can have your foot floating out. So it could be that you just want your leg coming out to the side so it doesn't even make contact. And again, it depends on the motion of the hips, how much flexibility you have, whether this is going to be better than this for you. So settle the feet down again. So we've gone through a variety of things, because usually with tree pose it's the movement of the feet and the legs that create most interest and most challenge. So another thing that we're going to go through is just the traditional positioning of the feet. So with the front of the thigh, you've got the quadricep coming up sort of like this. What you're looking to do is you're looking to put your heel into the connection where the quadricep starts, so in here. So sometimes people think of the trouser line, trying to get the heel in here. This is not going to work. A really nice place is just the front, or just where the quadricep ends here. And there's a little kind of dip. So if you're like, oh, I don't know where my quadricep ends, don't worry about that. There is just a little sort of natural dip that you're aiming towards. So when you bring your leg up, I would tend to bring it slightly higher than you need. It creates a nice movement with the hip, and then you can direct the heel gently in and slightly forwards of your trouser line. And then what you really need is that equal balance between pressure. So the pressure from the standing leg and the heel need to meet each other. If I press too hard on my heel, I go out. If I press too far on my inner thigh, I just I'm still standing, but you can see I've gone all squint. So you really want that kind of nice even balance so that you become like a standing position. So it's almost like mountain pose, just standing, but this leg is up, so that the alignment of the body is similar. Maybe not the same, but similar. The other thing that you can do to adapt this from here, which works for some people, is taking the sole of the foot upwards. So to do that, bring your knee high and then flip your knee down, and foot can come up. So you end up with the outside of your foot making contact with the top of the quadricep. So my foot could be a little bit higher and it would settle more comfortably. And that way, you've got a kind of natural resting position for the foot. So what we're going to do now is we're going to come to some different ways that you can do tree pose differently. But it's so important that what you're doing is that you are really feeling about what's right for you. So you're really feeling, how does this feel? Do I enjoy this? Yeah, no. When you are working with tree pose, just be really mindful of knees and lower back. So usually the pelvic, the kind of movement of the hips is quite stable. Sometimes people have issues with the ankle. When you're thinking about tree pose, do you see at the moment you could draw a straight line from my foot to my knee? Do you see now? We can't, because I have closed down the joint of the ankle. So now I've got a line coming across this way and then up. I've got a strong kind of dip through the inner side of the ankle. This is straight, that's the other way, inverted, averted, I can't do it. So try to keep the foot and the ankle in a fairly neutral position. So if you come up to here and you've had to this is me squashing my ankle. I don't know if you can see, but I've now got lots of little creases through the inner ankle because I have squashed this joint. So try to come to where we've got a nice smooth feeling either side of the ankle to keep it protected. Make sure you're listening to your knees, because your knees are doing some work, so make sure that they're really happy. Just like every other pose, if there's any sense of stretch around this whole area of the knee, either knee, then just don't do it. Knees are not designed to increase their flexibility. Right, let's look at some other things. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do kind of the variations. So one of my variations that I love is pretending to be a bamboo. So you're not going to get all my hands. I'm just the room is not big enough, so I just have to be out here. So You can either bring the knee out to the front or you can take it into traditional tree pose. Hands come up and overhead and we've just got straight arms. We're lifting up and into the fingertips, sinking down and into the shoulders. So we've still got that space around the face or around the neck. And we're just thinking of that long, smooth line through the body. Another variation is I quite like to use different trees as my kind of feelings to the pose. So that was my version of bamboo pose. And of course bamboos move a little, so you can do a little sway with it. Another one is to think more of like an oak tree, so a nice steady oak tree. So think about your arms being heavy and wide and feel that real feeling of stability. So that maybe the leaves will move but the trunk doesn't, the branches are strong, and it's that real feeling of weightiness, heaviness, solidity, strength and gentleness. See what one of my next ones was for you. Righty-ho, let's try these ones for you. So nice simple variation is from wherever your tree pose is, just bringing your hands in towards your heart. So sometimes when people do this, they think, oh, this isn't enough. This isn't the whole thing. Therefore, it's not enough. I would advise to come way back from that and go, how do I feel when I'm here? When we take the arms out of it, we can really focus in on what's the movement within the hip joint here, what happens within the muscles. Can we rotate out and round through the thigh? And we can focus more on these, if you like, internal directions. So I can focus more on the legs when my hands are more neutral. And there's also, obviously, whenever we bring our hands to prayer pose, for me anyway, it brings a real nice feeling of kind of quietness to what I'm doing. So another thing that you can do is you can take your hand onto your knee. So bringing whichever foot up you want, and it could be that you're down here, this is absolutely fine as well. All of these variations work with each of them. So from here, just letting your hand just gently rest onto your knee. You can let your other hand come out to the side. You can take it onto the back of the sacrum. You can bring your palm up onto the front knee. And I quite like this one because when the palm's up, there's more of that feeling of the easy breath that can be almost in the palm of the hand, which is different. This is more grounding, this is more, can be more attached to the movement of the breath. And we can do, I don't know if you've done yoga breathing before, but you can let your hands come in and out with your breath so that you can settle your practice, you can settle the pose into that breath-centered practice. When you are doing tree pose, don't do all of these variations all at once. Have a look at this, do one, come back to it, do another, rather than do. I'm kind of going through these just so that you get an idea of what's possible. The next one that I'm going to do is a real fun one, and this is a swaying one. So this is where, a bit like our bamboo, but we can go for it a bit more. You've got to be really mindful for this. So you've got to be aware of what's around you, and you've got to be aware of where your edges are and where your balance is. So I would advise doing it beside something that you can easily make contact with, that you're always remembering that you can take your foot away from your leg, bend your knees, come to the floor. And then you just start by just having a little bit of a sway. And what you're doing is you're starting to notice how much can I move and stay upright. How can I allow my body to move and start to really challenge myself with the movements. So you get this really lovely movement going. It's great fun. So childish, and so much fun. And my very last one for you is a reclining tree pose. So I've heard a lot of yoga teachers having a lot of discussions about whether this is a complete waste of time. And a part of it, you could say, well, yes, one of the main functions of tree pose is a balance. That's what you can say primarily it's a balance with standing on one leg. However, there are quite a lot of parts of the movement that are quite interesting, because we've got one straight leg and we've got the other leg opening out and round. So I quite like lying tree pose because when I'm lying on the floor, my pelvis is even, my shoulders are even. I've got that awareness of that alignment through the back of my body. From here, I can take my heel in towards the same place, that top of the quadricep movement place. I can let my knee come down and I can start to notice, okay, where is it that my hips are what is stopping me? What else? So in this position, I can notice that I would like to, if I wanted to imagine that I was doing more of this pose, that I would take my knee close to the floor. But all that would do would be to lift up the other side of my pelvis, which isn't actually doing anything. It's just a little bit of a twist for the spine, so really not that useful. So taking the heel towards the top of the thigh and then rotating out to the leg, I can notice, okay, I've got a real movement coming on round in here through the back of the thigh, and if I work with that movement and then the movement up and round of the heel, so here, so that my heel is almost extending out through the inner side of it, then I can work with the feeling of extending more and keep myself balanced through the back. You can let your hands come up and overhead and you can relax and rest and ease into it. And of course, if you were doing this, you'd do both sides, not just one side. But I'm just going to do one side so that this doesn't take too long and it can actually upload. So this, oh my goodness, 16 minutes, I have to stop. Tree pose is fabulous. I hope you enjoy it a great deal, and you can see there's all these different options available to you to explore it, keep it safe and keep it interesting. Hope you enjoy it over the next week and looking forward to hearing how it's gone for you. Thank you.